This video is going to show you how to make your velocity time graph for the ball toss lab. And this one's going to be a little bit different because now we've got positive velocities and negative velocities. So we need to make sure that our graph can have both of those types of numbers on here. So the first thing that we're going to do with your piece of graph paper or your notebook paper that you've prepared to be a graph, we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to find where the middle of that paper is, about the line that's closest to the middle. And that is going to be our our X axis. And we have, if you remember from the other video, I have 13 data points. You might have different. So I'm going to start at the far right edge and just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this will be my 0. And you should have plenty of space to have all of your time marks on there. And remember that we put that little zigzaggy mark between 0 and the first time mark so that we know that there's data missing. I'm going to go ahead and draw my y-axis here, and I'm going to use my extra space over here on the side and label my x-axis over here on the side so that when I put my numbers in, it doesn't get super cluttered in the middle of my graph. Now this is the tricky part. So the first thing that you want to do is look at your data chart, and I want you to look at all of the velocity numbers. Ignore whether they're positive or negative. Just look at what we call the magnitude, which is the number itself. And I want you to find the highest one that you have, positive or negative. In my case, that's going to be this one right here. Negative 1.306, I'm going to ignore that negative, 1.306. So that's the number we're working with. Now we want to make sure that you can fit both sides with that amount of velocity. So we're going to count how many lines we have on both sides separately of our x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that works out well. If you have an uneven number of lines, go with the smaller number of lines. That will ensure that it fits. So we're going to take just the magnitude of our velocity, 1.306, yours will be different, divided by your number of lines, gives me 0.186, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to count by 0.18, so I'm going to round that up to a number that's easy to work with. Pretend like we just had 18.657, blah, blah, blah. We'd round that up to something like 20. And we can do the same thing, just adding a decimal point in front of it. So I'm going to count by 0.200. And we're going to add those trailing zeros at the end because we've got 3 decimal places on our velocity. So if you put 3 decimal places on your axis, it's going to be a whole lot easier to figure out where those points are supposed to go. So you're going to number all the way up in the positive, and then come and number all the way down negative in the negative. Once you've got that done, label your axis, velocity, in meters per second, and then you're going to plot your points in here. Your graph should look very similar to the one from the data collection app. If it doesn't, go back and check your numbers, make sure that you've written everything down correctly, and then make sure that you've plotted everything correctly.